Hey everybody, Chris here. So is the Dogecoin bottom in? We're going to talk about that in this video. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that little notification bell too. You can be notified when the videos come out as well as when I do live streams. And today, November 11th, 2025, it is Veterans Day here in the United States. So for all of the US veterans out there, thank you for your service. I do expect low volume trading today. All the banks are closed. You know what isn't closed? Bitcoin isn't closed, Dogecoin isn't closed, but the banks take another holiday. But that aside, right now, what are the patterns showing? What is the good news that is here and also coming? And what does the chart structure tell us as well for a relief rally perhaps? Maybe that's already in place. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at it. Let me show you the charts in the news. I'll show you what I'm looking at. And we start here with the current Dogecoin chart. We're at 1769. Yes, 1769 is the current Dogecoin price. As we failed to hold 18 cents. But we zoom out a little bit, and this is a 4-hour chart, and we do see a pattern of higher highs, higher lows. That looks like a pretty good pattern to start with for Doge, for a relief rally, setting up for recovery from that October 10th flash crash that we had. We'll take a look at that again in just a little bit. But this is the setup. Bitcoin didn't hold 105. It's now at about 104.8. As we get into purple boxes again, right, here's the Bitcoin purple box just below, and here's the Dogecoin purple box just below. But we did have the bull flag, right? We broke out of the bull flag. And now we're just kind of figuring out what's the next move for Dogecoin. And we also take a look at Bitcoin dominance again, right at 60. Bitcoin dominance is flattening out for the past few days as the market is still kind of like, government shutdown? Yes, no, Trump dividend, is that a real thing? So the market very indecisive right now between Bitcoin and alts, and the price action too is just kind of like, just kind of waiting to see what happens. Crypto over, like, look, when will the government shutdown end? Well, it looks like it's probably going to be this week, right? And now, 96% of gamblers on Polymarket are saying, yeah, pretty much this week. So it's amazing how that line just shot up, with all of the bettors here. Because we have the framework and a preliminary vote showing the continuing resolution is going to pass. Right? It goes back to the House. The House will vote for it on Wednesday. So maybe it gets signed on Wednesday night. And we could be officially ended on Thursday. That's bullish for the markets, as Crypto Rover says, right? Bullish for the markets. Shutdown ends, green candles begin, rocket ship, let's go, right? Let's go. Right now, in liquidity is concerned, right? What's happening is we have a little pullback happening. ETH, Bitcoin, even Zcash, of course. Did you guys see Zcash? Did you see Zcash and what's happened? We talked about this during our live stream, where you don't want to be buying Zcash over $700, right? It was like we had this big run in Zcash and a lot of buying, and I was just like, don't touch this. And look at that, it's already down like almost 40% from that high, from over $700, now $470, because profit taking happens. You have the initial profit taking, others buy it up, and then more profit taking. It's like, okay, time to get out. This is crypto, right? All this talk about privacy coins, and this is going to be huge. And it's just falling right back. So you got to be careful in this market, right, for these kinds of things. But that's what we see. That's what we see happening. So yeah, be careful about the liquidations, because they're still happening. Fear and greed. Look at crypto. Fear and greed index is in fear. The last time we were in fear this long was the Trump tariff stuff that we had here, March and April. And actually, there were 2 dips down into extreme fear. We almost touched that last week. We almost touched extreme fear. And as we're seeing a recovery, right? A little bit of recovery. The fear and greed index coming up too. So the one thing about this, though, is the last time that the fear and greed index, from last week was down here at the 20 range in April, the Bitcoin price was about 80K. Well, now the Bitcoin price is higher, right? We're at $105,000 with fear and greed at about the same location. So it's another, right? It's a higher point where we continue on this move upward for Bitcoin. What does that mean? Well, we look at the counterflow. In 2017, we had this huge blow off top for Bitcoin. 2021, in the purple here, we had a double top. We had it up to 64 and then up to 69 in November. That was the all-time high then. This cycle, it has just been this slow and steady rise for Bitcoin. Do we have a pullback from 126 down to 105? Yes, we do. But overall, compared to the previous cycles here, has Bitcoin underperformed, or is this just a changing of Bitcoin with a larger market cap where it's not going to go on these huge, giant runs anymore, but it's just going to be these slow and steady gains? Is this time different? Is this time different for Bitcoin? Nick says, look, this cycle is not the same. All-time high before the halving, right? Historical first, we had that. The Bitcoin ETFs launching, January of 24 before the halving in April 24. That all happened, and Bitcoin hit a new all-time high, over 69,000, before the Bitcoin halving in April 2024. Stronger institutional demand versus retail-driven last cycle. Well, that may be part of the reason, right? We haven't had the huge retail buying. It's been slow and steady institutional buying. Spot Bitcoin ETFs, demand. Subdued volatility, no blow off top yet, but I don't think we're going to see that really in Bitcoin. Diminished halving supply, milder bull market drawdown of last cycle versus now, shrinking available supply, miners selling less versus prior cycles, sovereign adoption, regulatory climate shift, evolution of Bitcoin's narrative and investor base, altering cycle timing. What? Lengthening cycle? Extended? What? Extended cycle? Yeah, this cycle isn't playing by the old rules, and even though some shifts are subtle, others are massive. Nick says we haven't topped yet, so expect a continuation into the first half of next year. That's what Nick's looking at. I can't argue against that. Right now, open interest is down, right? We had huge open interest. This is all the leverage trading, right? June, July, August, peaking up right here in early October until the flash crash, and they haven't all come back yet. So that's quite a drop there. We haven't seen that drop since we had a lot of shorts being taken out last November and December, right? As we had this huge run in Bitcoin, even more for Doge, right? And a lot of people were shorting the market then, thinking that that was too hot, and they just kept getting taken out as the price went up. So we see that same thing happening here. Could this open the door for the next move up, similar to what we saw after the April tariff crash? Prices coming back up. This could be turning around to be that as well. Merlin says, look, this is all set up. Each cycle, the 50 EMA, right? We see it. We see these patterns, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and we've had 1, 2. Is there one more dip? That's what James Wynn is saying, right? One more big dip, and then we go up. He thinks it's all the way down to 92, 93 to take out that CME gap. Merlin's chart here only shows it about 97, but the pattern is there. Are we going to get that one more dip, and then the price is going to go up? We'll be watching that. Meanwhile, Bitcoin Census says, okay, forget the 50-week moving average. Let's look at the 300-day moving average. And now that's another one we're looking at. Dips below back in 2024, July and September. And then again, 2025, we had the dip in April below the 300-day moving average. And now here in October into November, we just had another dip below the 300-day SMA, We've climbed back above it. Kind of interesting. Multiple fake outs below it before strong recoveries. This time looks no different for Bitcoin. Interesting stuff, right? How about Bitcoin dominance? Well, we can zoom back out, right, to the weekly 50-week moving average, just like we had with Bitcoin, right, staying above it. Well, look what happened to Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance fell below its 50-week moving average, and now that 50-week moving average is acting as resistance. Isn't that cool? What does that mean? Does that mean that Bitcoin dominance is now going to go down after bouncing off resistance, and we're going to have an alt season? Are we still going to have an alt season? Well, Trader Alan's looking at Dogecoin saying, hey, we've had that downward trend, right, into November, and now we've broken out of that downward trend, and now we're curling up. The MACD, the histogram here, is increasing in strength. We had the bullish crossover on the MACD here, and that is looking like, at least for local, the bottom was in. We had the local bottom, and we are now moving higher. We zoom out and we look at the patterns, right? Again, 2024, we had a similar setup, a double hit on an upward trending support line, and then the big move up. So here we had the double hit on a new trending support line. Is this the beginning of that curl before the next big move up? We're going to look for the catalyst, right? What's going to be the big catalyst for Dogecoin to make that happen? Then you've got our friends over at Motley Fool who just make stupid articles. Again, I just cover this stuff because it involves Dogecoin. What's a better buy? Dogecoin under $1 or SHIB under $1? I mean, this is like so ridiculous. I mean, at least say a penny, right? Because that's still unrealistic. Where Dogecoin dollar is realistic. It's just like Motley Fool, just so dumb. Anyway, let's get to the real stuff here. Is the Dogecoin bottom in? Analyst explains what matters now. And who is this? This is Kev Capital. So Kev Capital has a nice chart here. We'll zoom in on it here, where we look back to earlier 2025 and April timeframe. And he's got all these fib lines on here. Way too many lines for me, but Kev, you know, Kev's great, right? Very technical. And he's looking at this upward trending support line from April, you know, to the dip in June, and then the dip in October. And of course, we have the wick that comes down. That wick seems to hit exactly on the 200-week EMA, which is this blue line, before coming up. And so Kev's saying, look, we bounced off the 200 EMA back into our weekly range that we've traded in for most of the year. So if Bitcoin reclaims 106.8, then Doge should reclaim 20.2. That's 20.2. We need to reclaim that line right there. And then we want to get above the macro 0.5 fib. So we will be watching what Kev says and what he's looking at here. And in the meantime, if we zoom out a little more and we look at the overall trend, much larger trend that goes back into late 2023, we do have a much larger forming upward trending support line. And then again, you take out that big wick, right, the October 10th wick, and we're curling right at that support line overall to move higher as well. So, I mean, it's appearing these things are setting up for this being a higher low. And again, I do show this on my X account. So if you go to my profile at ChrisPex on X, you will see this post here. Higher lows, higher highs, right? This is what this is looking at. So, hey, we'll be live on Tuesday afternoon, as we are most afternoons. So make sure that you're subscribed. You got your notifications on. Leave comments below. What do you think? Is the bottom in? Or a lot of you are still bears and thinking we're going to drop lower, or you just want to buy more Doge at a lower price, and you had many opportunities to do that. But let me know. Give the video a like as well. We'll see you next time.